So we did start mapping out the entire electrical system, because basically that is what everything's going to stem off of, is where we're going to run the wires for all the components and subcomponents that are going to be powering this vehicle. So we have a vehicle control unit, we have a battery management system, we have batteries, we have thermistors, we have a bunch of stuff that needs to go in the car. So now we're trying to figure out where it needs to go in this particular vehicle. Most of the control systems are going to be in the back. We're going to kind of replicate that back here. It's either going to be sitting up against this box or on the bottom. That will control basically the entire vehicle. So what we've done is we've already gone through and got a whole wiring harness together for the car. We have it laying on the ground because we wanted to kind of map where everything is going to go, make sure that all our lengths were correct. So we have everything for the CCU and VCU already mapped back here. That's where all these ends are for. So this is going to go to the vehicle control unit. We also have a programming cable because we're going to have to program this car eventually. And we have a digital display that will be going in the front of the car. And that's what this loom kind of runs to. We also have a keypad that puts the car into park neutral drive. And that's going to go in the middle of the center console or probably underneath the dash somewhere. That's what all that's for. It's provisioned. And then the second part of the loom as well is going to run to the power the BMSs. And then the charger and the DC to DC step down. So we're taking that high voltage and bringing it down to something more manageable, like 13.7 volts to run the batteries. Headlights, turn signals, and everything else, and this will be able to feed that particular power source. So we got all that together. This is for the charger back here, so it could initiate its systems. And also we're going to be running some new cables to that front headlight for the charging port itself. So that's what this has all kind of been laid out for. I know it's kind of funky on the ground, but we like to do it this way to get it underneath the car, make sure all the links are right before we start running it inside the vehicle. A lot of people put the vehicle control units in the front of the car, but we want to keep this one as clean as possible. So what we're doing is we're putting all of it in back like I did with the Mustang. And I think that's a better look. You open up the trunk and then you have everything laid out nicely.
You made an executive decision to, for lack of a better word, beef up the battery boxes for safety. So what you're doing is now you're outsourcing them to have them laser cut, and then they'll be redesigned so that you can put them in.
We'll redesign them tonight. He just came in here, took a bunch of measurements to make sure that they're going to fit in the car correctly. So what we're going to do is he's going to go back tonight, draw those up in a CAD program. We just send it out. They have lasers that cost hundreds of thousands of dollars, and they cut everything out. They tap it. They put their holes in. We can put little tap screws, and it's finished. Basically shows up. We put it together like a giant Lego, weld it up, and we're done. So this is the inverter. This is a performance inverter, and you could usually tell because the motherboard, not the motherboards, but the internal boards, the PCBs are red. If you ever see red, that means it's a performance board. See, these are green. That's a base model board.
Oh, that's cool.
A little bit different. See all the end boards too here? They're red, and these are all green. This control board out. We put AM's control board in, and with theirs, we have so much more flexibility.
There you go. And then clock those. Yep, boom. That is a complete motor.
That is a complete motor. The VCU is the first thing we put in because it's controlling the whole vehicle, and then the BMSs go on top of it, and then our charge control systems. And as we add each one of those modules on, we'll make sure it's working correctly, test it, make sure it's communicating via CAN. We'll do a couple runs here and test everything out.
These Delphi connectors, you recognize them?
No.
No, I don't see a partner for them either. I've got to find one pin because I could find one pin or I could run this wire on a separate connector, but I really do. I have to add one wire to this harness.
Ask Sam, he'll give you a part number.
Yeah, that would do it. There you go.
Yeah, email Sam exactly a picture of it, and say, hey, I need this, and he'll send you part numbers.
So there's one empty spot. Like, it's too perfect not to make the effort and make it nice.
Oh, absolutely.
So, because this was the CCU on the rear harness.
But now it's going to be on the front.
It's going to be on the front, which is going to be in the rear. Sort of mind
The
that.
front harness is going in the rear of the car, and the rear harness is going in the front of the car. Because, like I said, we're putting all of the chargers and VCUs in the back of the vehicle.
Yeah, that all works. And we get the high voltage interlock loop on this one, so we're all already wired in.
Oh, they got it. Okay.
Yeah,
So what that is basically for all your high voltage, endpoints, like where it plugs into the contactor box, where it plugs into the actual charge port. When you plug your charger in, there's an interlock loop that tells the computer that something is now plugged into there. And if it gets unplugged, it stops charging. It turns certain relays on and off, so the high voltage isn't just floating around everywhere. So this is a high voltage junction box. So basically what this does is an on and off switch for all the high voltage. So high voltage comes in, high voltage goes out. And there's a bunch of relays and switches and fuses in here to make sure that that flows correctly. So when we turn the car on, you heard me talking about contactors and relays. So there's like a solenoid in here, basically opens and closes a contactor, allowing the high voltage to be passed on. So this is like a giant electrical switch.
Is this going to be located in the back of the car? Or don't you know yet?
Where are we putting this?
I'm thinking this is going
In the front.
hood. Yeah.
It's
gonna be-
closer to the firewall.
And once we get the battery boxes all stitched up together and get that done, we'll be happier. And then the car's gonna roll out of here, like I said, towards the end of the week. Then he's gonna start the process of getting the motor in.